Okay. All right, greetings. Greetings, Soccer 13. We'll start in a few minutes. Just going to give everybody a couple minutes to get in. Peace, brothers. Peace. Love 305 Capricorn. Just going to give a minute or two, get some more people time to come in. Patra, I got your text. I'll give you a call. Yeah, after 7:30 tomorrow. That works. All right. Hopefully you heard me. All right, peace and greetings to all the gods and goddesses on this path doing real motherfucking work. Let me stop. All right, I want to welcome everybody to the show. Before we bring on our guest, Raven Hecker, we're just going to go through a couple quick announcements. The ritual, obviously, which shit was already 2 weeks away, believe it or not. The ritual of Arachne, the spider goddess, which we're going to be doing here in Fort Lauderdale on Friday night, September 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to attend the ritual, you need to send me an email, request an invite. Cutoff date for invites is Wednesday the 25th. Okay. After Wednesday the 25th, we will not be taking any more invites. Okay. Journey of the Black Adept Conference number 2, as it's quickly approaching. More people are inquiring. More people are coming. If you need information, that's going to be the weekend of the October 25th to the 27th, 3 days. And as I've said many times before, it's going to be 3 days of workshops, classes, presentations, rituals, and just some good old fun, kicking it and all that good shit. If you would like to present at that conference, if you'd like to do a presentation on a left-hand path or an occult topic, contact me. Let me know what it is you would like to present. And as long as space is permitted, we will get you on the itinerary. There are a couple spots left, but it is filling up. So there's just a few. Once the space is filled up on the itinerary, we won't be able to do any more for the sake of time and keeping things within the format. So if you need information on the conference as far as where it's located, best airport to fly into, how to register, all that good shit, just feel free to send me an email that you see in the description box, khnum19@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also when you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notifications when I put up new videos or I go live. You'll get a direct notification. Also hit the like button, very important. Something I didn't know that was brought to my attention. I guess apparently when you have more likes, excuse me, your channel shows up on more search engines. It expands more and reaches more people. I had no idea about that. Raven brought that to my attention. So please hit the like button so this channel can spread out and reach more people. More people can access it when they're searching on YouTube. And that's kind of what we want. We want people to, some shape, form, or fashion come across the information. So again, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Also stay posted on the other social media platforms, Primordial Chaos on Instagram. I know a lot of you follow Primordial Chaos on Instagram. Make sure we're also on Facebook. And any announcements, things that are going on are on all those platforms, including here, which I don't know if anybody checks, but all YouTube channels have a community section. I also put announcements for upcoming events, classes in the community section here on YouTube. So stay abreast of all that. The upcoming Lilith class, I know I've already, since I announced it a few days ago, I've got several people already have emailed me. That class will be Saturday, November 2nd, 8 o'clock. I'm sorry, 8 o'clock, geez. Saturday, November 2nd, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll run from 3 to about 6:30, 7 o'clock. If you would like to sign up for that class, that'll be a whole breakdown on how to work with Lilith, working with altars, rituals, sigils, spiritual techniques and practices. We'll deal with a little bit of sex magic and how all that ties in, the various different aspects to connect with the Lilith energy via the dark side / night side, or the Klepothic realm. As we know, she's the goddess over the Klepothic realm. She's the one that guides you through the void and darkness. Helps you understand the real self. That's probably doing shadow work on its most intense level. Okay, so that's going to be on Saturday, November 2nd, 3 to 6:37ish. So if you want to sign up for that class, send me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. That's right in the description box. I'm going to be posting a video over the weekend. Try to do it tomorrow or Saturday. I'm going to go in depth on working with altars, setting them up, the science behind them. I'm going to actually go through my altars and use it as an example. But I'm going to explain it more on a metaphysical level, on a mental level. There is a geometrical aspect to it, on how I work with it. And again, not just how others, and how you can work with it. So I'm going to put a video up about that over the weekend. Look for that. If you work or have all this, I think it'll help you out. Just something I've been meaning to get to. But anyway, also, if you're interested in a consultation or a reading, specify which one you prefer. And also let me know the days and times you're available and the time zone you live in. Consultations can be used for whatever you want, to discuss whatever you want. People, again, use it for a one-on-one question and answer session to ask whatever questions they might have about this path, ritualistic work, or whatever it may be, something you may want to go into or delve a little deeper. If you want a reading, the type of readings that I do offer are Egyptian rune readings, readings with Lucifer and the Goetia demons, a reading with the spirit of the dead, with the Vodun deities and the Loa or the Orishi. If you have a preference, specify that in your email. If not, I'll use whatever my intuition tells me. And I usually get to you within 2 to 3 days, okay? Don't think I missed anything. So we got the Lilith class November 2nd. Oh, I'll be doing, myself and Brother Ravana Noon on his channel. We'll be doing, this is going to be fun. We talked about it earlier, a hip hop sports occult class. This shit's going to be fun. So if you're a hip hop head and you're into sports, even if you're not, you're still going to get a lot out of it. But we're going to be going from way back in the day, old school, to present day. As you know, that's pretty much what got both of us into, quote unquote, the conscious arena. Hip hop is what really started my journey on paths of consciousness. So we're going to go in deep and in depth and in detail on that. I believe that's the last Sunday of the month. I think that's the 29th. Yes. I will be putting up a advertisement on the Instagram, so look for that. It's going to be a fun class. We want to change it up a little bit, have a little bit of fun, kind of kick it, instead of always being serious and trying to get all intense. I mean, it's still, you're going to get a lot out of the class. So we're going to be talking about, hip hop and the occult and sports and the occult, because there's a lot of connection to that. So it's going to be a fun class. Other than that, I think I covered everything. All right. So we will wait for Raven to call in. She should be calling in momentarily. We're going to talk tonight, as you see the title, You Must Die Many Deaths to Truly Live. What the fuck does that mean? Well, we're going to go in depth. Like the good book says, you must be reborn again, right? I don't even think they know what that means. But we truly on this path are the ones, not just saying it and making an oath and a statement like they do in religion. We truly are reborn on this path. But we go through many deaths, and we're going to talk about that, a little bit about that tonight. As soon as we get her to call in, make sure no issues. I sent her a text. Make sure she got it. Oh, yeah, she did. Okay. So she should be calling in momentarily. So we will just wait. Lost my damn. But that's what we're going to be kind of going in on tonight. But we're going to get a little bit more in depth. I chose the Lilith class for the second because that's going to show you on a more intense level really how that works. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Because that's probably, there's no, in my opinion, more intense way to go through it. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. We will get into that this evening. Swear. All right. So that class again on the second, we're going to be going in depth on all of those type of techniques. It's only for the grown folks. Okay. It's not child's play. And it's going to be a little bit graphic because I don't talk in depth here openly, publicly on the channel about ritualistic work, because you got to be careful about that. Because sometimes you got ignorant people that are listening and may misinterpret what you're saying. So I don't go too graphic and detail in the ritualistic work. And there's a reason for that. I think we got her right here. Let's get her in. Greetings. Is this Roxanne Shante? What's going on?
Nothing.
How you feeling this evening? Are you feeling peachy keen?
That's a negative.
All right. Glad to hear it.
But I'm here.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
welcome back to the
I'm
show.
not well, but I'm here.
All right. Well, got any issues? Just let us know, and you got to go. You just let us know. We don't want to keep you if you're not feeling 100%. Okay. All right.
You're so kind.
No problem. All right. So what we want to discuss this evening, I don't know if you were listening, just did a brief interview. I want to share with people, in your words, dying many deaths on this path. And what I mean, why we chose this title, what that basically means is, in order for us to really, when we talk about shadow work all the time, I believe people understand it to an extent. I don't know if they fully do. It's just my opinion. And I don't think they understand the process that goes along with that shadow work as far as the change and the different periods you go through in your life. So I want you to talk about what I mean by that title. If you can explain in some of your experiences, you literally feel like there's portions of your life that have passed. They're gone. They're dead. Those ways about yourself are gone. New chapters in your life open up. You kind of see this when you reflect back and look on things. And kind of what inspired the title. That's kind of some of the stuff I myself experienced with working with the Spider Goddess, and the ritual we're going to do at the end of the month is kind of going to be connected into that. So let's talk a little bit about, via doing this shadow work, the many deaths or changes, some might refer to it as changes, you've gone through and experienced. If you can elaborate on that and maybe share some stuff with that. You're still there?
Can you hear me all right?
Can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. So working with the shadow self, you do change. You do a lot about you changes. But a lot of it is a fight. Because you're having to let go things that you have done forever, or you're having to let go those different, that set of mind, whatever that mindset is that you may have had, that needs to be dead, that needs to die in order for you to grow into who you're supposed to really be.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, some of it has been rather easy. Some of it has been rather hard.
Right.
Some of it, you think, okay, example. So, I have discovered, when I thought I was, my recent, working on thyself.
Mm-hmm.
When I was thinking it has to do with one thing or one particular mindset, and you may think it has something to do with the here and now, in all actuality, it has to do with my child self. So I can't really deal with it. So I was trying to deal with the issue in the here and now, in the present. But I needed to go back and deal with it as a young girl to address, because that's why I need to change the mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to change it now is not working, right? Because I'm not addressing what caused the mindset in the first place. So there's many ways to kill off something, right? So in order for me to change or to kill off this recent issue or this recent revelation, is that I have to go backwards and deal with that. Then I'll be able to have a clearer vision. I see it, I feel it, a clearer vision on, or I will be able to deal with whatever it is in a different manner.
Right.
So that's what it is to me. Is that when you're on this path, I've said it before, and when you're really working with your higher self, if you're really working these energies, I know it has been drastic to me. It hasn't been no easy breezy cover girl type of shit for me. I've had to deal with some things. For some people, it may be different. Okay, but my whole goal, with that being said, my whole goal or my whole reason, my whole mindset from the very jump has been to change me. Mm-hmm. So, and that's exactly that has been happening. It's me changing me. Everything else is external to that, and you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Right. And that's important. So what so I want the listeners to be clear on through those chains. I want to back up something you said about, the childlike aspect of the self, going back into the past. I want to talk a little bit about that. And again, I'm not telling you got to get in depth, but just you can be discreet when we talk about that. Explain to the listeners, because that's important in shadow work, because that usually connects with traumas that affect you, that most people really don't address head on in other spiritual systems. They think they can meditate it away, or they think they can sweep it under the rug, or get submerged in some type of spiritual system on a fanatical level. And all that does, as we know, on this path, we know it just suppresses it, but it creates a stronger resistance. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff in the past, going back. Could be, as a young child, a young teenager, etc. How is that work? What debts or what things did you have to eliminate? And I want to talk a little bit about, we'll talk about deconstruction, reconstruction magic in a minute. But what, in particular, in a discrete way, what were some of the things that you uncovered, for an example, going back to that childlike state via your shadow work, that you realized impacted you or had a traumatic effect more than you actually were aware of, is what I'm trying to get at.
For example, well, yeah, of course, trauma, right? I've had trauma. I think I stated it. I know I stated it in the class form. I think I kind of breathed at it in this larger form, but I'm not sure. But I know I have stated it in class. And with that being trauma, right. Was it even the trauma of my parents' separation, right? That trauma, that was hard and very impactful, right, on me, because in that moment, in that instance, I felt unheard, and that traveled with me. So.
And how old were you, roughly? How old were you, just so people get a visual?
I was just going into kindergarten.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, yeah, that was very impactful. Because at that moment, I felt like I wasn't heard. And trust me, I was trying to be heard. I was trying to say, like I had something to do.
Right.
Okay, but gotta think of it from a child's mind. Now you be like, yeah, right. But as a child, you don't know that your opinion in grown folks' business don't matter, right? But as a child, you're trying to voice, you're trying to let them hear you, and neither one of them was listening to me. Okay, but that made a humongous impact on me. Right. Because what it did was, throughout the rest of my life, and I felt like I really did need to say something, something that felt I was important to me, it always crept in like, this person's not going to hear me, or they will not want to hear me. Either they'll sit there and pretend like they listening, but they ain't listening. Right. Or they don't want to hear it at all. And They would always play in the background. I never really understood where it came from until, again, you start digging and doing shower. So that's, like, for instance, an example. That's with that.
Okay. Now, one thing I know, and listening obviously to you and others that are on the path, and that's why I say actually doing work. This is again what it means to die many deaths to truly live. Because if you don't kill those ways about yourself, those ways that, all this stuff that we're talking about stifles your growth, it stifles your evolution, and it actually can prevent you or hinder you from getting results when you're working on this path. And again, why I want to talk about this evening is because this is why I feel some people who are not successful don't really understand what this system or this path is about. I think this is where the disconnect comes in. I think this is where people struggle, because one thing you can't do on this path that you can pretty much do on any other path, you can just get in where you fit in and hop in wherever you want and just fit in with everybody else and do what the rest of the crowd is doing. Put on the same clothing that everybody else is wearing. Say the same things, and on the surface, you look like you're down, you look like you're hip, you look like you got it all together, but on the inside, you're all jacked up. So you'll find through these many traumas, and just like Raven was explaining, you will find that if you look back and reflect on your life, if you're consistent in your work and what you're doing on this path, you can see different cycles in your life. And it's almost like they ran its course, and it's almost like you actually died and were rebirthed or reborn. You can actually conceptualize certain parts of your life where you feel like you lived a full existence and then you started a new existence over. It's the best way I can explain it in physical words, but you have to really feel it to understand it. Sometimes when you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, if you've been doing it this long, it feels like it was eons ago. So these feelings are confirmation of the various changes and growth that you go through. So it's important, the childlike aspect that we just talked about, it's important to always go back and evaluate and assess when you're doing shadow work. Now what worked, for an example, if you can give some examples of this now. So we've identified, we use the example of what you just talked about. Now, what's some type of work or exercise or practice or some type of spiritual practice or ritual that you utilize to help you and assist in coming to that awareness? A bit about that.
Well, if I may, just roll back on something you stated, and that is, I find that I was stumping my own foot in some work that I was doing, that it was affecting how not so much how I approach, because I have the approach fine, just it just affected the work overall,
right?
Because how it made me feel, it just made me angry about it, right? Till I just put it down. I stopped doing the work. I just put it down. I mean, for months, just put it down. I wouldn't touch it. Even if I think like, I need to be over here doing something, I think nope, because even the thought of it would just make me anxious. You know what I mean? Just to even do that work, and that was just confirmation. That was just confirmation. It wasn't time for me to do it because I haven't fully dealt with what I needed to deal with, right? So what I do for me, and that is connect and work with the energies that work with me. When I do, for instance, any type of ritual, especially when we're doing with anything that has to do with the chakras, trust me when I tell you, my whole aim and goal is to clean up the debris and brush it out, and light them puppies anew. You deal with it just in your regular everyday living, and that is by speaking your truth, rather you stumble getting the words out of knowledge, but you speak it. So the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. And that's just on the strength of it. Just not trying to be all, magical about it. It's just about you have now uncovered, well, I had uncovered an issue. Now I needed to physically, mentally, emotionally do something about it. It was taking it out, taking it out of subjective and do something with it in my objective. My subjective gave me the heads up, like, hey, you need to handle this. And you just go about doing such a thing.
Right.
So I would utilize again. I guess everyone knows I really work with the Holy Death. That was that energy let me know that change was coming, and that shit ain't stopped yet. I'll be glad when it's over. Okay, on some level. Okay.
Right. Right.
But it has been. It's constant change, and just don't understand how people. I just don't understand it. If you're doing the work, it's gonna be always something to do.
Correct.
There's no perfect being here. There's no one perfect.
Right.
You lived a certain amount of years. You got that certain amount of something that you need to work out. But but people act like you just stated, as if there's nothing wrong with them and there's nothing that they need to fix about themselves, and they have all the answers. They know every spiritual system that there is. They know how to work a spiritual system.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You know what? It's funny. The one thing you just said, I always tell somebody that doesn't think there's anything wrong with them, that's the first problem that's wrong with them. They don't think that there's anything wrong with them. And they don't realize it. That's problem number one. But go ahead, finish, and then I wanna expound on what you're talking about. I want to ask you something further to explain. But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. So now, as you started doing the work, and yes, I know a lot of listeners from previous shows, and I know myself that one of your Patreon archetypes or matriarchal archetypes is the Holy Death. Which is a great archetype to work with when doing shadow work, when clearing paths, doing any of that road opening work, as some call. Now, again, you don't have to get detailed in a discreet way. How did this now? Because this, I think, needs to be talked about. Because I know we like to talk about a lot of intense spiritual part of it. We ain't get there yet. But I think we negate how this affects your everyday, mundane, physical existence. I don't think it's talked about enough. I think people downplay it, disregard it because they want to be so spooky and spiritual all the time. As you started doing the work, I mean, I know some of the answers to this. I know your father's passing was traumatic. But as you started to do some of the work, how did it affect your mundane, as far as family, friends, your career, your social circles? Because I talk about this a lot on the show, and people, I don't think, understand the extent how upside down things can get when you open that door. So if you could talk a little bit, and again, you could be discreet, how did that affect those areas of your life, family life, professional life?
I don't want to be. They ain't done it. They goddamn business. Okay, I'll tell them what they want. I want them to know. Okay, so don't believe that right there. So you don't have to keep saying discreet. I'm going to tell them in my own words. It's best.
Right.
Because you know how I am. I don't like people all in my business.
Right.
Because people messy.
Right.
We know people messy. It will change. Okay, my world was rocked. My whole career got turned upside down. Right. Okay, but that was something too I had needed to. So let's start there.
Right.
That was something too I had needed to address, because you feel like people gonna judge you based on your chosen profession, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that got turned all the way upside down. But I understand it. It got turned upside down for a reason that I had some other stuff I needed to do.
Right.
Right. And it was to get me in alignment. I understand it, but then I didn't. And then I did not. But as you stated, as you grow, you know, right? And that got turned all the way upside down. Social circles. I've always kept it tight. literally I can count the people on one hand that I trust these tales literally, and not all the fingers on one hand either.
Right.
But that got real tight too, because I mean really tight, because you can't express what you're going through or tell people what you're dealing with and going through, because they may not understand it, right? They may be of a different mindset and may not understand it.
Right. That's important. That's very true.
Right. So, then you kind of pull back. People, they may not understand, that you may have on a different necklace or something like that to add. But as far as my family goes, I have always been good on. When I got on this path, my dad was still living. No judgment. He's like, my dad, he always had me 100. My mom, same way. I want to do anyway. But she didn't try to disfeed me or look down on me. So I never lost the connection with my parents. You know what I mean? By coming on this path, and to a certain extent, not even my extended family. I had one cousin who tried to put me in my place to tell me about, Luciferianism and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you needed Jesus.
I had on the Baphomet necklace.
Yeah, you needed baby Jesus.
He didn't give me the Jesus. He's trying to give me baby rock. Okay, which I never was. Just don't let the rock fool.
Right.
Right. But my children, you start to really see them for who they are. I'm a mama bird. I always have been. It's teaching me to pull back on that. Which has been a struggle, because I'm truly a mama bird. Okay, I hug over my little cheek, but it has shown me the errors in my ways as far as parenting goes. It has shown me the things in my parenting, but most of all, it has shown me to pull the fuck back in my parenting. Because there's something else that needed to just die. I have adults, I don't have children, right? So that part of my motherly self to just die until I one day become somebody's grandma.
I want to stop you there for 1 second, because something you're talking about, which people might be aware of or not, in reference to children, I would recommend people. I know some might be familiar with Khalil Gibran, the prophet, and in his Khalil Gibran was a Lebanese Arab that wrote some. If you're not familiar with him, check out his work. He was a poet, but in his poetry he dropped a lot of wisdom. Some might be familiar with him, some may not. But get a book he wrote called The Prophet, and he's got a section in there talking about almost identically what you're talking about. And he says in there, as far as our children are not our children. We're just the vessel that they come through. And all we can do is instruct them. All we can do is teach them and give them guidance, but we don't control them. We can't own them. We can't force them to think the way we think. And when you said pulling back in parenting, all you can do is give them that instruction. And I think what happens with a disconnect there to people who don't have that awareness, when they try to mold their children to be identically like them, or they try to force, and this is why you always hear me say in videos over the years, you can't force, not just on family, friends, but especially your children. You can't force them. You got to let them be children. You got to let them grow into this information. And understanding, being on this path helps you, in my opinion, being able to have that correct method of parenting, like you're talking, when to pull back, when is too much, when is too little. When do you teach that tough love, those harder lessons? When do you let them fall and let them figure out getting back up? And I don't think we really have a good grasp or understanding of that. But in Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet, he goes into a whole section in there, And that's, in essence, we have to look at it. We're just vessels that are utilized, just like our parents, like you said it. I just heard you say it. They know you're gonna do what you want to do, and you're confirming what he said in that book. They're just the vessels we come through. We don't own our children, and I think that gets twisted or lost in transition. But I wanted to throw that in there, recommend that because when you were talking about children and pulling back and parenting. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, when I started here, my children were adults, right? They both have dabbled.
Right.
One's more considered than the other.
Correct.
The other just, has to find their way. They'll find it. It's not being forced, but I know what, because I know them, I believe, well enough. I know what each one of them holds. And if it'll be some worries if they really do what they need to do. Because whether I know one it comes really easy to my daughter. It's easy. And the other one just has to, if they decide to, it'll be easy for them as well.
Right.
I can just see it as for them. But I'm not forcing it,
Of
right?
course.
One day or so. So.
Right. And that's a good point. But we have to realize that, because I see in a lot of other paths, which is kind of funny to me, a lot of these so-called conscious path, the parents feel like because what they're into, the child should be into it too. I don't care if you're into Kemetic spiritualism, Buddhism, whatever the hell it may be. Or shit, we've seen it, and I'm sure some of us are the byproduct of those experiences in religion. How many of us grew up where religion was pretty much jammed down our throat? We were forced to go to church, right? Because, and again, part of it, I'm not saying wasn't always our parents' or grandparents' fault. They were just doing what was done to them. And this is what I mean about dying many deaths. That cycle or that chain is broken when somebody in that chain decides to change up the pattern, make the difference. So when we came on this path, and say if you came from a religious background and you said, look, I'm not going to be doing the programmed religious church thing anymore. And then you say, I'm not going to pass that to my children. That's where it stops. And I think what people talk about bringing about change, right? People talk about breaking the spells of indoctrination. Well, it starts with us. And one thing we have to realize, like you said, something else that's important. You came into this as adult. And what a lot of us came into that, and shit, that could have been in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Remember, you still got all of those years of indoctrination embedded in the subconscious. That doesn't go away in just a few years, a few months. Okay, regardless of how deep you might think you are or how much you think you know. And I can say this for doing this for over 25, I still have to catch myself regularly with shit like we're talking about. I think what happens though, and again, that gets lost in transition, this is not really about us in essence. It's more, we always talk about in all these systems, it's about, the children and raising the children. All these groups have talked about this over the years, but I don't really see a plan or a format other than forcing what we think, that's supposed to be correct for them rather than let them find their way. And I think what this path does, it's one of the few paths that allows them to be children and experience, but at the same token, give them the guidance and again, understanding, if they take heed to it, put it into practice, good things can happen. If they don't, they might have to stumble, fall, find their way and learn life lessons hard. It's just the way it is. But I think this is important to understand, but that's how we break this cycle. It's not about us. I think we get caught up and because of what we know. And I've said this for years, and I know, like you said, you came into this as an adult, but you've been around now for what, 3 years? Somewhere roughly? 3? Is that right?
Well, yeah.
Well, I say that because if you look at yourself, Brother Jack, Mike, and this is what I mean when I say social circles, keeping the circle tight. I don't really keep anybody around me that doesn't have a track record, that's not consistent at what they do. And I've watched all of you guys. I've seen you guys at your lowest of low, and I've seen you guys at your highest of high. And Jack is another great example of that. Just less than a year or so ago, he was still trying to find his way. Now he's kind of an independent trucker, got his own trucking company. And I've seen the tremendous growth. I've seen how it's facilitated in his life. I've seen it with you. I've seen it with Mike. I've seen Brother Mike go through some tumultuous changes in his personal life and his professional life. And I'm saying that to say, and obviously I connect with that because I see myself in that. I can relate to those experiences because I myself, of course, obviously we all don't have exact the same experience, but they're very similar in nature. And this is what I mean when I say your social circles change, because you tend to start vibrating towards those people that have the same frequency, the same energy. You're going to find being around people that are not on that frequency is going to start irritating the shit out of you. You're going to find just being in, yeah, talk a little bit about that.
And it does, yes it does. As a matter of fact, it irks me. But then I look at it as something else in me that may need to die here, because it may not need to hurt me to that extent. I can sense when someone comes around me, I just know they one gonna be full of shit. They own some shit, right? Or they're not as this is all the way back when we used to do the rituals down in Hollywood all the time. Like, look, I'm not with this here group here. I can feel it. I feel it. Somebody in here for the fuckery, because I don't do that. I don't do fuckery. I like to have fun. I'm a fun person, but I don't do fuckery, especially when it's something that I really take seriously, i.e. changing myself. And the rituals that we do here, I take seriously. I'm there for a reason and purpose. I'm not there to be cute. I'm not there to attract nobody. I'm not there for bullshit. I'm there to make effective change in my life so it can pour from me out to my children. Okay? Mm-hmm. Point. That's my focus. Right. For me, and let it flow to my children so I can be. Then you may see a different line, but I'm good. I roll it in. Right. You literally can sense it. You can sense it in your workplace. Right. You can just be around individuals and you be like, yeah, they on that bullshit. Right. Mm-hmm. You can be around people and your tackles go up and like, yeah, keep your eye on that person because why? They're on some other stuff. They just not vibing where you're vibing. They can call themselves saying that they're on the left hand path or they are into voodoo or they are into this. But all actuality, they into some bullshit, right? Right. They just found a platform to where they can seem like there's something that they're not, because there's a lot of people that, as you say, gravitate towards that, right? Mm-hmm. They gravitate towards it. So, yeah, you can, I can say I was always pretty good about it, right. Sensing that kind of stuff. Right. But now it has reached a new level, and I have to really temper myself to not say something right. Inappropriate. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've always said, look, as I just said a minute ago, to elaborate a little bit more, you can't fake the funk on this path. And like I said, you can do that in any other path. You can do that in whatever system it is. You can fit in, fake the funk, and nobody would even know. Differences on this path, it's going to show.
You know it.
You know it. It's going to manifest in the work you do, the results or the lack of the results you get. Because if you're weak and you're not doing the work and the stuff that we're discussing, that's where you crumble. And again, one or two things usually happen. People run back to doing what they used to do, or they work their way through it, and they progress and they grow. And I don't want to downplay. Mm-hmm.
No, and can I say something to that? I'm sorry to cut you off. Can I say something to that? Because you rolled me back to what I wanted to say. Thank you. You know what? Because I said it Friday. Was it Friday? Friday. Okay. I was out with some friends, and the conversation came up, like-minded individuals, like, circle is tight and small, and it came up, and I stated that I'm going through the fire. I am being distilled. That was the best way I can put it, is that I know I'm being distilled. I know it. I know it. I know it's what phase of the alchemical process I'm in. That's another thing people don't understand. You need to teach on that. Okay? You haven't taught on that, I want to say, in a couple of years. Yes. Yeah, you need to teach on that. Because I can see it. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, but see, then that's something that's still dying, right? It's something that's still being pulled and cleaned up, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, I have never felt this way. I have always known. I just never felt this way, and I know what stage I'm in before I couldn't figure out why such and such was happening. But now I know why such and such is happening, because I'm being distilled. I'm going through what I need to get through to get to where I need to go. That's where I need to go for me, not where I need to go for anybody else.
Well, one of the keys, which is important, because we know as adepts, magicians, left-hand path, whatever term you want to use, that floats your boat. It's about mastering that chaos. And, and everything comes. We talk about this all the time. Some of it, I think people take it as being cliche, or it's just the standard. But if we understand the power and the essence of this primordial chaos, and when chaos manifests, the equipped individual, the equipped god or goddess or warrior or adept or magician, whatever term, that has the tools, the ammunition, and the wisdom and the know-how, knows how to make order out of that chaos. And when I'm saying chaos, I'm referring to all these things we're talking about via shadow work. Some like to call it life's problems, traumas. But the difference is chaos is impactful on a subconscious and a conscious level. And I think the shadow work uncovers those things that impact us subconsciously that we're not aware of. And I find this, again, dealing with people, whether it's classes, the channel, even going years back, consultations, whatever, just dialogue and network with people. It's amazing how people didn't realize how something, when you were talking earlier about, let's say, things when you were a child, how people just didn't realize until they did shadow work that certain things affected them. I mean, I'm talking about things they thought they were past and thought they put in perspective and dealt with. It could have been a bad relationship with your mother and father growing up, or maybe your father. I had a client one time. His father would always belittle him when he was younger, like talk to him in a disrespectful, rude way, or always would criticize him and say things. I'm talking about when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That can be impactful, and that can affect you growing up later in your other social skills and how you perform career, business, workplace. I had another person that, because of problems like that, they couldn't publicly speak. You understand? And sometimes you talked about chakra work earlier. That's the throat chakra, lack of expression. You uncover all these things by really addressing this in your shadow work. There'll be no spook god that's going to fix it for you. It's not going to happen. You can do all the praying you want. It's not going to go away. The only person that's going to be able to fix this shit is you. And the only way you're going to fix it is, look, there's traumatic things that people go through, whether it's deaths, abuse, physical, sexual. That it's not saying that always won't be there. It will always have an impact, but when you're able to address it head on and put it into perspective, you're able to move forward to the point where that impact doesn't affect you to the point it stifles your growth. And I see this all the time. Look, ritualistic work is pointless without doing shadow work. It's pointless. It's not going to work. I don't care what you think. Yeah, it doesn't mean you won't get momentarily results here and there. Over a consistent period of time, you will not. So this is important. So let's shift now, and unless there's anything else you wanted to add on that, I wanted to shift to deconstruction and reconstructive work.
The only thing I would add on to that is that when you are in that, because this is what I do. Because when I am in that moment, with all my chaos is coming up, I double down. I double down the best I can, right? So that I can stay focused on a task. And I just try to not let as they say, your mind become the devil's playground. Because it's a lot I'm dealing with, right? So I just double down. I'm a doer, right? So I just start doing. I'll do everything that I need to do to keep me vibrating at a certain level. And since I have done that, so that's a change for me. So since I have started doing that, I see that certain things are coming easier. And when I say certain things are just coming easier, it's just not my ritualistic work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The shit on my fuckery job, right? Even looking for work, I'm not even asking or looking, but it's coming back to me. You understand? So, and it's through this chaos. That's why I'm saying this is to me. I look at it as when that chaos comes, and it comes in that form and matter where your world is turned upside down, you're being distilled. You got to go through the fire so you can come out and be who you're supposed to be.
Right.
Let me start saying my Shaka Khan. Okay. This is about me having to sing on his Shaka Khan. Okay. But
shit, Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan, stop.
All right, through the fire. Okay, I'm about to go there. It just popped in my head, so I got to go pull up those thunders. I got to check that out. That popped in my head for a reason. But so yeah. So that's what I just want to say to that. You just have to, when you get into that, it says you should take that. Don't fall and get absorbed by it because it's hard. Just stay on task. Even try to find ways to get up out of it. Trust me, when you stay on task and doing what you need to do to the best of your ability, not to someone else's ability, you can't do it like Brother Beniti does it, right? Because he get on here and he tells us what he does, right? What he does when he get up to the moment he goes down. You have to find that way that works for you.
Right.
From the moment you get up to the moment you get down. And I think, too, that's what a lot of people are a little stuck, but yeah.
Right. All right. Just to remind listeners, in a few minutes, if you got questions, type your questions in. If you got questions for Raven, questions about anything that we're talking about, just type it in. Try to keep this in a organized format tonight. I definitely don't want to overextend like I've done the last two. I'm not going to do this for 3 hours tonight. I definitely want to keep this to about 9:30.
No, I'm not doing nothing for 3 hours.
No, I know.
I'm not doing
That's that, exactly. Okay. So if you have questions or comments, type them in so we can get to that in a few minutes to keep it.
Okay, well, since we got this here pause too, well, let me say hi to everyone since I didn't come in. Y'all know I'm just honoring as hell. So peace to everybody. Hope everybody's doing great, being well. I just came in. Awesome headache that is just now feeling like it's going somewhere. I don't get headaches, so I got to examine it. I need to throw some herbs together and do what I do. But so yeah, peace.
Yeah. So and again, so now when we get into ritualistic work, right? So one of the intense parts of this path, we know if we do work with opening Lucifer's gate, activating the eye of Lucifer, people misunderstand what that is, right? When you activate the eye of Lucifer, right, you're basically, as I've said many times before, you are basically understanding what it's like to embody light and darkness simultaneously. We call it also opening the gates. And there's an old saying, once the floodgates open, sometimes you can't close them. And what happens when you start activating this energy for all the things that we're talking about, Now it's going to determine really if you are a god or a goddess. See, the playtime is over. You understand? It's not about talking shit no more. It's not about how many books you read on Egypt and Africa and how much shit you think you know and how intelligent you are, which most of that, a lot of people have that. They got diarrhea of the mouth themselves, talk about intelligent shit that they think they know about. But the disconnect comes where you don't see it reflecting in their everyday life. They can't put the shit into practice. It sounds good. They give you a whole history lesson, which pretty much bores me and puts me to sleep. But they can't put any of it into practice. So now we got an issue. We tend to, when we're on this path, when we open those gates, we have to make sure we're receptive and we're prepared now to deal with what's coming. So that comes in your due diligence. That comes, you go to bed? All right. That comes in your due diligence with your work and your preparation. And the shadow work is that work and that preparation. Because if you don't do it, this is where you get now you get individuals that get consumed by their chaos. Look, it's easy to talk the talk, but it's not easy to walk the walk, right? All this shit, we got to get out of killing old ways about ourselves, deconstructive, reconstructive magic. All of this bullshit that people walk around talking, I'm a god and I'm a goddess and blah, blah, blah. Look, no disrespect, but I got to call for what it is. You can't be a god or goddess working at McDonald's. All right. Let's just keep it real. All right. It doesn't look, I'm not talking about if you're in a situation, do what you got to do. And you've also heard me say, if you got to flip hamburgers, be the best hamburger flipper you can, because that'll open the doors to many other avenues. It's always about your approach to things. Okay. If you're miserable because you put yourself in that situation. If you're a hater and you're jealous and you hate on everybody and all you do is talk shit, that's because that's what you're lacking in your life. You got issues there. When you run into people that all they do is talk shit about other people, that's because their life is fucked up. And misery wants company. And that's why that's what I'm saying, your social circles get smaller. Because my thing is, if you keep you are the company you keep. If you keep letting people in your circle, that's all they do is bitch, moan, and complain, then it gets to a point you got to ask, well, what are you doing for yourself? And usually that's where you get the Ralph Cramden, the hamada. That when you have those type of issues, it shows what you are lacking. It's like, let me give you an example. It's like you got all these people on these conscious platforms, right, that are homophobic, right? They always talk about homosexuality. They use some spiritual bullshit shit to justify why they're against it. And they say they're not religious, but it comes from a religious indoctrination. It comes from that biblical shit, comes from that Sodom and Gomorrah shit. Most people that constantly are bashing homosexuality, deep down inside, they're homosexual. They just haven't addressed it. Because they have homophobia is a person who fears they might have homophobic tendencies. So their way to deflect that energy off themselves is by talking shit about others who are. Now, I'm saying this from somebody that's neutral. I've been clear in my position on that. Your sexual preference is your business. Me, it's not, I don't agree with the lifestyle, but I don't hate on nobody for it. And it doesn't mean that person does not have the right to reach the same spiritual heights as a straight person. It's ridiculous. But it goes to show you that these are the same people that claim to be wise, intelligent. Some claim to be elders, but they have the reasoning and understanding of a fucking kindergarten. All right. And this shows and reflects in the work or the lack thereof of the work you're doing. All those ways have to be killed and destroyed about yourself. This is not about liking what I want to like and hating what I want to hate, and everybody needs to see it my way. You're gonna have a hard time. So let's talk a little bit about this. Will be the last thing we talk about, and then we'll go into the chat. So now that we've addressed or talked or brought to the surface some of these things, and obviously there's a lot more. Obviously, we wouldn't have time to get into everything tonight. Let's talk a little bit about some deconstructive, reconstructive work. Let's get into a little bit of that. What have you done? What have you done? And give an example. Be specific as you can as far as an archetype or a ritual that you put into practice that help you kill things, destroy things about yourself that you needed to rid yourself of? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, sure, no problem. Well, for me, it's by any means necessary. So let me state that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna start there. For me, it's by any means necessary. I utilize again the holy death as an archetype for deity, and I also use, Lucifer. I will use. I did one recently here where it was my high chief. I had to go to the high chief. Okay, I'm like, high chief. Yo, you said call on you when I need you, buddy. Pull up. So that was at a critical time. I'm calling my high chief, and I just feel like I'm really overwhelmed in critical mode. Right. I call on my high chief. Yeah. So I would. Okay. I think I've kind of stated this before. When I'm really doing a lot of work for myself, on myself, for myself, I rarely utilize a written ritual. Right. That's a rarity. Unless I just want to do something like a mass, like I want to do my own little personal bike mass, if I want to do something like the Infernal Union, something specific to that nature, right? Then I may pull up on a written out ritual invocation and utilize that, changing the words where I see it that respects to me, that works for me, because you're supposed to do that, so I do it. But as far as I utilize the energy, because that's where it started for me. So, right. And I think that's where it's going to end for me. So I utilize the holy death. I got just do my own little ritual. Sometimes it's a 7-day candle. Sometimes it's a 4-inch ritual candle. It's whatever my intuition is telling me, however I need to deal with it. Mm-hmm.
Right. One thing you mentioned, I think, is a great deconstructive and reconstructive ritual, a black mass. Now, I want to make this clear. When we say a black mass, that's not always, I know, first thing that's going to pop into some people's minds, Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan. That's one aspect. The format for the black mass, because if you are familiar with the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals Companion to the Satanic Bible, you will know there's 3 methodologies that the black mass was used for. One was for, again, deconstructive or destroying things. One was if you were doing a special petition of compassion for a particular individual on their behalf. And the other was always for lust. That usually involves some form of sex magic. Black masses, and matter of fact, those that just took the online class in that last session, I gave them, and matter of fact, Stepawat, if you're listening, I got your email about the work you did. I'm going to respond back to that. I gave people a black mass, a format, which is always open to adjust and change how you see fit. And I'm saying that to say, I mentioned the black mass that most people traditionally know via the Satanic Church. Use that just as a blueprint, okay? You use it as a blueprint. You can formulate that, and it's a great deconstruction, reconstruction ritual. Like, for an example, in the traditional black mass, one good way of doing this is, they'll write out on parchment paper, let's say, specific things you want to change or fix or destroy about yourself. And then they'll use a white candle to burn that petition. And there's symbolicism in it. And you get, there's other elements that are added to it. That's a great thing to do when you're trying to destroy something, be it a person, place, or a thing about yourself. It's always an effective ritual. It's one of the core rituals on the left-hand path. But I would encourage people, you don't need to do it the standard traditional way. All right. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the format in the Church of Satan's Satanic Bible, but I think it's a little religious. I would recommend changing the format a bit and kind of more update it and personalize it to fit your own path. But you will find the power in that, because when you're doing destructive magic, the important is to tap into your emotion of rage, anger, things you despise, because that fuels the ritual. And deconstructive work must have that element to it in order for it to be successful. And depending on how that manifests, maybe it manifests on an external level where it affects you physically, or it can be also an internal thing. But there has to be that fuel that creates that fire. But the black mass, in addition to, you mentioned the Holy Death, is a great deconstructive ritual, and I would encourage everybody. We've done a black massive set that I wrote. Set you can use many different methodologies to formulate it, but I think that's one of the core rituals that an individual most definitely can create. I just want to throw that in there because you mentioned the black mass. You still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Yeah, no.
I utilize the Holy Death too, so I'll do different spell works for that. Like you saying, I will even with the Holy Death, write on parchment, burn it, write it on the candle. As the candle burns down over what I've written, watch, have that being getting rid of in the physical sense, in the mundane, when I go into especially when it's personal here, when it's just me, it's easier to do it. As you were saying, I build up, I put my faith, I bring that emotion to the front so I can rid myself of it. Whether, the black mass here, when you solo, it's easier to do.
Right.
Or when I'm working the Holy Death, I bring that emotion to get rid of. And I had started utilizing that more so since that ritual we did back in, I think February, I want to say it was February.
Right.
Is that now I speak it. As they say, it's power in the tongue, right? So I speak it and I speak with power. And I make sure I go into all my workings with power.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And I speak with power for the emphasize and to get it out. Because you're trying to rid yourself of something.
Right.
So I speak it out, not whimpering it. Even if I had to whisper, like if I'm doing it at a time where the house may be easy, even if I have to whisper it,
right.
It's whisper with power. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I have to say it in my mind, it's in my mind with power. That doesn't negate it. Right. That I may not have to. I may be able to speak it verbally aloud, but however I do, I do it with force.
Right.
And something else too I have applied. So after you do that and you have gone through your mass, the church people would say you leave it there, right? So that's why we say so it is done. So you leave it there. You have to leave it there,
right,
and know that it is removed. And what has also helped me is that I like the book, and I think you talked about it in class. You just return to your everyday self. You get back to doing whatever your everyday self would normally be doing. Right. And whatever that is. And I try to make sure, especially when it's doing something to remove, I make sure I flip the script and do something I enjoy.
Right. And something's important that I want to add for all the listeners so they're aware of something you just said, that people need to understand. after you do your work, and the term you just use, you return to your mundane existence, right? Or your everyday life. Now, when you're doing ritualistic work or you're doing any of the stuff that we're talking about, it doesn't mean you don't do things to aid it in your everyday life. Let me give you an example. Some people think they're just going to do shit. Like if you're doing a destructive ritual, say to fix something or destroy a way about yourself, a behavior or a pattern, it doesn't mean, oh, after I did it, I don't need to do anything, or there's nothing I need to do on a daily basis. What the ritual does, I want to make this clear. It's not poof, puff the magic dragon, snap your fingers, and everything is fixed. There's no such thing like that exists. It's not a reality. What it does do is activate portions of your psyche to create a higher level of awareness. And then you see that awareness makes you, when you're going down a certain path, or maybe a certain way about yourself, a personality, a characteristic, or a behavior, you start to catch yourself. And then you make the adjustment and the change. So what it does is bring the awareness. It doesn't fix it for you. It gives you the awareness for you to fix it for yourself. Let me make that clear. Because I think people, I think people tend to think they're going to do this work and, okay, I just did that ritual, poof, it's done. And now all of a sudden I don't got to do anything. Everything is fixed. I'm good to go. No, that's not how it works. If you take that approach, I guarantee you, you will have even more problems that you had prior to going into the work. So they give you an example. And I forgot it was somebody we had on the show. I can't remember. But anyway, we were discussing about somebody, say, that's doing work to open up opportunities to get a job or get a better job. Right? And I use this. This is a very simple analogy that I think everybody can relate to. It doesn't mean you do a ritualistic work to open up for a job opportunity, then you just sit back and wait for the job to come to you. That's not what it means. It still means you got to do what you're doing on your end. But I guarantee you, if you combine the work you did on the subjective with what you're doing on the objective, and what I call creating harmony between the subjective and the objective, doors will start to open up. Opportunities will present itself. So I think people get that twisted. They think I'm going to do money magic, or I'm going to do magic for a job or opportunity, and then that's it. I'm going to do the ritual and I'm going to leave it there. No, you still do what you're doing. You still pursue. You still make efforts, because if you don't, I will guarantee you 100% guarantee it's not going to work. And I think people confuse or have a lack of understanding of, when you're doing certain ritualistic or magic, how it works. Now, that can change if I don't want to get into that now for time's sake. When you're working something maybe a little bit more intense or critical using greater black magic. And I'm more or less talking about a lot of stuff we're talking about involves what we call LBM, or lesser black magic. You only really use greater black magic when it's a critical situation. You shouldn't have to use it a lot. If you find that you have to use it all the time, then your power is weak. It's weak because whatever you're working on a mundane level is just not effective. A good, well-rounded magician, probably 80% of the time, uses lesser black magic. All the stuff we're talking about is LBM stuff. Greater black magic is much more intense. It involves much more intricate details. And there's some people who think they're working greater black magic, but they're not. I don't think people understand the difference between the two. But you will find 80% of the time you're going to be using the lesser black magic. And there is a difference in how it's worked, how it's approached. And you only should be going to a greater black magical working if you've exhausted all your options. That's when you do a GBM working. When you've exhausted all options, everything has failed up until that point, then it might involve more intense powers. I'm not going to get into that too depth right now. But this is the approach, and this is the understanding. And if you use this methodology, is it going to be the same for everybody? Absolutely not. But if you use the blueprint, the format, and again, this is what I'll try to do in the classes, to show people this, not to just show them my way, because my way isn't going to work for everybody, but the blueprint works. If you utilize the blueprint and adjust it for yourself, you will find out you will be successful. But it's up to you to figure out, how do I need to utilize it? And that's why I say you can't mimic and copy somebody else's shit. You can't mimic and just regurgitate word verbatim what you get out of books, because that's only going to do you so good. It's not going to give you what you need. When you personalize it, you customize it to fit your own needs. That's when shit starts to change. But the problem is getting the understanding on how to do that. Some people struggle with that. So is there anything else you wanted to add? If not, I'm going to go to the chat and see what.
Let's go.
All right. All right. So if you have some questions for Raven, I'm going to go up to the top, and again, I will forward them over. So let's see if we have any questions. Let me go through.
And if you don't, it's all good. Just mean we can pack it in a little early.
Okay. I'm going to skip the greetings. Again, peace and greetings to everybody if I didn't get a chance to greet everybody. Brother Angel. Yeah, I saw the, on another note real quick, I saw Mandy's going, Mama Muerte's going hard on that logo. She's working on it, keeps making adjustments. So we'll come to an agreement on that. And again, let me throw out there for those in the New York City area, we got some good stuff planned that we're working on right now. There's going to soon be an upcoming date for our next event in New York. Something we're going to try to do a couple times a year. So if you're in that area, stay posted for that. If you would like to get in on the Black Flame 11 and you're in the New York area, and only I'm saying this, I want to be clear, only not to be nosy, not just because I want to see what's going on. We will start asking people if they're not participating, or really doing something. So that'll show real quick. So I want to make that clear. It's not a fucking club. It's not a socializing gathering. It's about a group of people that's trying to get some work done. I want to make that clear. If you are interested in that and you're in that area and you want to get in on the group, send me an email. If you're in the tri-state area, if you're New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, surrounding areas, and you would like to link in with that, on what we're doing in that, doing there. But again, I want to make it clear, as long as you're going to contribute, as long as you're going to work, as long as you're going to participate. If you're just coming to be nosy, you're going to get axed. Don't even waste your time. So hit me up, and we should be having another video call in a few weeks. I'll set a date for that soon. I do know, I can tell you this, we will be doing our next event in Astoria in Queens. We'll get more particulars soon, but we're finishing up. I'm just going to throw that much out there. I ain't going to give no location or anything. So we got that coming up in a few months. So again, if you're in the area and you want to get down with that, send me an email and we will link you into our next video call. We're going to be getting together at least once a month video call. And by the next call, we're going to have a few more things set in concrete, and we'll start announcing these things as we go along. All right, questions. Let's see. All right, I'm just looking for questions. I'm going to skip comments. Okay, I'm just seeing comments. Some good comments. People, such and such. It's good, but I'm not going to read them for the sake of time. Just a lot of comments. I'm not really seeing any questions. More comments. I'm looking. Hold on. All right, hold on, jumped. Give me a second. I just saw something from, where'd it go? There we go. Hold on. Where did it go? Okay, here it is. No, that was a comment. Comments. Okay, here's the first one. This is, all right, let me clarify. This is a kind of funny question. Keona Living Magic, what job should they got or got us since McDonald's is a no-no? Let me just make that clear. I was saying that in reference to, if whatever it is you're doing, okay, I'm not saying to look down on somebody that works in those professions. I'm talking about the individual that talks the good game, that professes to have all this knowledge and this wisdom, and it doesn't reflect or correlate to what they're talking about. It doesn't mean, I want to make this clear, you do what you got to do. As far as your profession or job, I mean, that's something you got to figure out what it is you like to do, or what it is that would be productive for you to do. So I don't know your thoughts on that, if you want to add to that, but I just want to make that clear when I was talking. I say that all the time, but I don't want people to misinterpret that. All right. Is there something you wanted to add to that?
Nope.
Okay. So yeah, don't that what I'm saying is it's the same analogy with the person that wants to give you all this spiritual advice on healing and money, but they're living in their mother's basement. You understand? It doesn't. There's a disconnect there. I was talking along those lines, just so we're clear on that. All right. All right. Let's see what else we got.
And I think people get hung up on that God and goddess shit. So I don't deal with that. Don't deal with that. Don't deal with that. I think people get hung up on that. I think as long as you sitting up here on this little piece of rock, you are aspiring to be something. Okay? And that's why I leave that at. So I don't take that as like a literal thing. I think people get too literal with it, like they supposed to be akin to, I don't know. But I think it just goes too far for me. So I don't really look at that as that. I think we're all here for a purpose and to learn. Maybe at McDonald's for a reason. Maybe that need to be more of the question. We need to figure out, why we're there for that reason. You know what I mean?
Well, I say that because I was at McDonald's. See, I don't know if people realize that. I may never have said that. I can go back to 1993. And I was at probably a low point in my life. Things were terrible financially. And I have the mentality to get in survival mode. And I'll do whatever I need to do. Not something I wanted to do.
It's okay, but it's what I'm saying. People just get,
right.
You knew why you was there. You figured out why you was there. That's what I'm saying. It's not, I think when they tie in, when you josh around and go God and Goddess, that gets taken too literal.
Well, yeah, and the God,
maybe just the way I think. I don't.
No,
I don't want that label. Maybe because I don't want that label on me. Maybe that's what it is.
No, but the God or Goddess thing, and there's a difference when we say it on this path as opposed to other paths. It just means being responsible and in control, and taking responsibility for your actions. But I clown about the McDonald's thing because, and I always talk about your approach. And you said something a minute ago. You need to really reflect on why you were there, and that's exactly what I did. I knew why I was there because of some bad choices I made. I had gotten myself into a situation. But the reason why I'm a stickler on the approach, now there's two ways you can deal with it. You could either be miserable and shitty and get up every day and go in and just be completely, miserable in your existence. I chose the other route. I chose to take the mentality and the mindset, have a positive, outlook as far as my situation was concerned. And then I saw in a short period of time, worked my way up through that, eventually worked my way out of there, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, it opened the door to other things because of my approach. Because if you just sit there and take the bitch and moaning, complaining, and miserable route, that's why you're there in the first place, because it's usually your approach, your attitude, your mentality, and how you deal with things. So, yeah, I want to make that clear. All right, so here, we got a good question for you here. Way to go. Damn, this thing keeps jumping on me.
I know nobody don't have no questions for me. I just know it. It's just, why? Let me, I'm thinking, I'm in chat now, because I just popped in.
All right, so Juju Cakes, Yeah, all right. I know this for me. Well, I kind of think I just answered it. Again, I was back there, and I was going back to 93. I want to make this clear. Regardless of what you see today and what I'm talking about today, it wasn't like that all the time. When you see me clowning, talking about these things, it's not just from my opinion or looking from the outside. I've been down the road. We're losing jobs, getting fired, getting laid off, not knowing where your next dollar was. Growing up on food stamps and the whole nine. I've been through all that shit. I say all this because remember the title of the show is "Destroying the Old Ways About Yourself, So You Can Truly Live." That's a reminder to me to never want to go back to that, because watching my parents struggle, but at the same time doing what they had to do to put food on the table to get things done, being told at an early age. I didn't have parents so I can go to them. Can I get $5, $10, $20? Can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? No, my mother gave it to me straight to the point. You're gonna have to get a job, and that's the greatest thing she ever told me at a very early age. I'm saying all these things because those are the things, like Raven mentioned earlier, about things you went through in your childhood. I'm talking about the literal things, the mental things, the emotional things, the things. It shapes who and what you are, and it shapes what either if you're going to be successful or a failure. So even though I might clown, that's just my methodology of communicating, and I know some people may not get it. Some do, most do. And it's not that I'm saying these things to criticize or downplay people. I'm saying it because I've been there. I've been the McDonald's dude. You understand? And have no shame in the game saying it. And it's a reminder of that is motivation moving forward, unless something critical happens and I don't have absolutely no choice. I ain't going back to that shit. You understand what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean if somebody else, I see the struggle. I see you got to do what you got to do. I don't care what the fuck it is. But the whole point is what I focus on in that, and what we're talking about tonight. Part of shadow work is your approach. So you can either take what's handed to you and be like, well, play the role of victim. See, that's the other disease we suffer from. Everybody wants to play the role of victim. They're in a situation, it's never their fault. This happened, somebody did this to them. Because of this, they never once take responsibility for the choices and the decisions that they make. So you could just take the hand you're dealt and approach it with the right mindset and get yourself out of that and evolve into something bigger, better, and greater, or you can get devoured by your chaos. That's chaos, people. All it is. And that's why I say, those things. All right?
Well, thanks for the clarity.
Yeah. I think that's it. I don't see anything else. That was it. Okay.
Awesome sauce.
All right. So I won't hold you up because I know you ain't feeling 100% well. I'll just finish up. That's it, I really say. So if there's anything else you want to add in closing before you go, this way we don't hold you up.
No, peace. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble. I appreciate you.
All right.
Appreciate for dealing with my mean ass because I'm mean.
No problem.
And that's all I got to say.
All right.
So y'all take care.
All right, we'll let you go. Feel better.
Thank you.
All right. We'll stay on just for a few more minutes. I just didn't want to keep it too long. Obviously, I could tell not feeling 100%, but I think we should get the point, and I want to make it clear. One thing, you will never hear me talk about anything on the show that I haven't experienced myself. All right, and that's why I talk about these things the way I talk about them. Honestly, I'd be lying to you if I really said I could give two shits if somebody took what I said personal. So I'm not going to lie to you. I really couldn't care. That's exactly what it is, personal. Love, like it, hate it, leave it, take it. It's irrelevant because once I turn the camera off, it's a memory to me. I don't turn the camera off. It doesn't stay with me. So I just want to make that clear. So I don't want to lie to nobody and deceive nobody. I'm past being caught up in my emotions or the emotions of others. I just don't do it. That's why, again, I don't respond to certain shit. I'm not interested in what you like and you don't like. It's irrelevant to me. You're wasting your time with that. It's the wrong tree to bark up. Back in the day would have been a different story. I'd rip into you, and I only do that now in certain situations if it's called for, which is very rare. I just don't have the time and energy for it. Not interested in it. I'm not impressed by what you think you know or you don't know. It's irrelevant to me because it has no bearing on what I do, and it shouldn't have any bearing on what anybody else does. That's one thing that's also part of deconstruction, reconstruction. We're not caring two shits about what somebody else thinks. If you're still affected by what other people think about you, you're going to struggle on this path. That's something I see other people's down for. They're worried about what other people think and circles think, and this person, they're worried about what this person might think of them. They're concerned about what their family is going to think of them. And family can pose a huge problem on this path. They're your biggest test. They seem, and I know this, now I per se in that area, I'll be honest with you, I've been pretty fortunate. I don't really have that issue. I didn't really, come up in a super religious family, even though we were technically Catholic. We were probably, outside of my mother, who was probably more stricter on that, but we were probably like your Easter, Christmas Catholics, go to church on Easter and Christmas. And my father was anti-religion. He thought the church and, Vatican were the biggest crooks. He used to call them the real mafia. I remember that movie that came out, and I think it was 2003, the one that Mel Gibson did. What was it called? The Passion. I remember my father, we went to go see that. He said, I want to go see this bullshit. That's his exact words. And I remember being going to the window, at that time, wasn't all this online shit, going to the window and asking for a ticket. My father asked for 2 tickets to the fight because, all the previews said that this movie showed Jesus getting his ass beat in a really fictional way. And I just remember him oh, this is a bunch of bullshit. There's no way you could torture someone. There's no way you could crucify somebody like that. My point being is, I didn't come up in that. I was fortunate, but I do see in other situations where people struggle on this path to grow because they catch flack from their family, or they're worried about what other people are going to think of them, or they can't practice their path fully because they're dealing with opposition from siblings and family or spouses. And I've always talked about over the years, it's important that, especially if you're an adult, it's tough to be on this path with a spouse that, okay, they don't have to, again, as I said many times before, they don't have to be fully in on this path like you are, but they at least have to be understanding of it, and at least have to be tolerant to let you do what you want to do. If you don't have that, that can pose a huge problem. Not it can, it will at some point. You will be forced at some point to make a decision. And I see people think, oh, it'll change down the road, or I can change him or her and mold them to see things the way I want. Doesn't work, people. Trust me when I tell you, right? These are things that are all addressed in your shadow work, in your deconstruction and your reconstructed work. Sometimes part of deconstruction is getting rid of certain people around you that are not productive for you. That's not always an easy thing to do. And I can sit here and tell you today, outside of the aforementioned people I mentioned earlier, Jack, Mike, etc., I probably don't talk to anybody that I knew probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I find I constantly am through cycles changing and filtering people out, except for the core few that are on the same frequency with me. And you should be the same way, because you'll find out when you keep the circle smaller and tighter and keep people around you on the same energy and vibe, your progress is a lot better. You start keeping miserable people around you, you become miserable. You keep broke people around you, you become broke like them. You keep failures around you, people that think and are failures, you become a failure. That's just the reality. I've said many times before. Another thing my mother used to say to me all the time, you are the company you keep. Always keep that in mind. You are the company you keep. You can say, look, if you're running in a circle of goons, you're a goon. No, you are a goon. Trust me. And it's just a matter of time before that energy reflects on you. These are things you got to think about approaching. And sometimes people's problems, they like to go spook and spiritual, and they think it's always some deep shit. Somebody's doing a spell on me. Somebody's doing mad. Somebody's trying to out to get me. And it's not even that. Sometimes it's as simple as the decisions you make. the fucked up people you hang around with, the poor decisions you make with money, the poor decisions you make in career, the poor decisions you make with family. And sometimes it's just that simple. But see, we don't like to do that. We always want to find some external reason of why we're failing. And we never want to point the finger at ourselves and say, man, I'm in this situation simply because I made a bad fucking decision. It's just like the person, male or female, that's constantly in one bad relationship after another. All right, one time, maybe two times. But when you're in one abusive or bad relationship, one after the other, after the other, after the other, it gets to a point where now you need to question your approach. Because, all right, once or twice, maybe twice, that might even be pushing it. But 3, 4, and 5 times, come on, man. Now you got to start taking some responsibility for your own. It's like the female, and I got to keep it real, who keeps popping out kids from different dudes. I can't sympathize with you. At what point did you not realize it was time to close your damn legs? At what point you can't even take care of what you got, but you want to bring more into the world? And then you want to blame the dude? Yeah, you can say the dude's fucked up. And any dude that don't take care of his kids, I've always said is fucked up. But who's really to blame here? Think about it. See, we don't want to look at it like that because we always want to play the role of the victim. It's never my fault. Oh, I was given a rough hand. No, ain't nobody forced you to open your legs and pop out all those kids from 3, 4, 5 different dudes. And look, if you're one of those people listening and it's happening to you, look, don't take it the wrong way. It is what it is. Learn from it. And it's the same thing that goes for a dude who cries wolf, that ain't got no money or can't pay child support, or all his money goes to child support. Dude, ain't nobody told you to go messing around 6, 7, 8 women and popping out kids from them. I just can't sympathize with that. That is simple. And then they want to act like all these females is out to get me. They ain't all out to get you. You're out to get yourself. At what point do you become smart and strap up? If you got to mess around, but fine, but strap up, dude. It ain't that complicated. I'm just saying. Or again, your pull-out method is weak. I don't know what to tell you. But to sit here and play the role of victim, and I'm the wrong person to talk to about shit like that. I ain't gonna be feeling sorry for you. Okay. I'm not going to be sympathizing with you. Ain't even going to be empathizing with you, let alone sympathizing with you. Okay? All right, let's see what else we got here. Take a few more and then we're going to wrap this up by 10 o'clock. What else we got? There's a good comment by Blade of Ashtarth. It seems like the topic pays respect to a concept of initiation through destruction. Yeah, and you can look at it in that sense. It is a form of initiation, initiating yourself into a new existence, most definitely. Like the serpent, we shed dead skin and awaken to a new version of ourselves. And that's what the Apep energy represents. And that's how Set, the story of Set and Apep, approached it. Set knew he wasn't killing or completely annihilating Apep. He knew he was destroying that Apep energy or destroying Apep for the moment, but always knowing not only does Apep shed his skin and new skin is formed like a snake does, so do we. We have that same ability. And by destroying or dealing with Apep when it comes, this is how we resurrect or renew or rejuvenate ourselves. That's what the whole Set Apep story is about. And then we see the flip side to it. We see the wrong approach. And when you read the story of the Book of Gates and Ra's journey through the underworld, Ra struggled because he thought he could kill and completely eliminate Apep. He spent his whole life trying to do it, and he failed every night from dusk till dawn, from the midnight hours till dawn. He spent his whole, as the story goes, I'm talking symbolically, this is what he did. And the lesson to be learned in that is we can take the approach Ra did. Because most people in everyday life take the Ra approach. They take the Ra approach. They think they can bury it, sweep it under the rug, destroy it, eliminate, or pretend it doesn't exist, and that's going to make it go away. No, Set came along and told his father, man, you're not too, get the fuck out the way. Let me show you how this is done. And that's what makes Set more unique than any other deity in ancient Egypt, just by his approach alone. There's none like him. That's why he's synchronized with the adversary, who some call Lucifer, Satan, or the devil. which they'll present it, the fluffinators will present it in a negative religious light, but we know what it really represents. We all should be strived to be like Set, right? We use this word all the time. We don't even realize it. In order to get things done to be successful, you have to have a what? A certain mindset, right? Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just pulling for straws. Maybe it's just something that sounds good, but it makes sense. You must have the mind of Set in order to be successful in life. Not the mind of the conformist, not the mind of the individual that thinks like everybody else thinks, that goes along with what everybody else is doing. You do that, you're prey. And like I said the other night, you're either predator or prey. Set's a predator. Set devours weak people. Set feeds off of weak people. Set utilizes other people's weakness and strengthens himself with. So when we see an individual weak, we go in and attack. And that's what we do with weak-minded people. That's what vampirism is about. Vampirism is about devouring and absorbing energy, right? One of many aspects of this path. But you must think like Set. And that's why there's no deity in ancient Egypt that is likened unto what he represents. Shit, it's to the point to this day, they're still mystified. What animal mask is that of Set? There's so many theories. Oh, it's a boar. Oh, it's a pig. It's a dog with a snout. It's this, it's that. You're not supposed to know what it is because it's unidentifiable. It doesn't line up with anything, anybody else, or any other deity in ancient. You could look at every other deity in ancient Egypt and identify what mask symbolically that animal ties into. Ra, the ram, right? You can do this with all of them. Ampu, the jackal. Bastet, Sekhmet, the lion, the cat deity, right? Set, what the fuck is it? There's a reason for that. Because you can't identify something that can't be identifiable as far as it has no limitations. It has no boundaries. Set represents all that. That's what the black flame represents. All of those things tie into what Set represents. And that's why there's no other unlike him in ancient Egypt. And remember, do your due diligence, and nobody talks about it. Before all the religious people started talking about, oh, Set represents the devil. That's religion, first of all. Any so-called Kemetic person that says that shows subliminally and subconsciously they're still indoctrinated by religion and it shows you really don't know anything that you're talking about Egypt. Prior to the 22nd dynasty, Set was the one, not Osiris or Usir, who guided the initiate through the underworld, right? People keep forgetting that. Only when the Osirian cult took over, that changed. The script was flipped, okay? Because the Osirian cult had an agenda. They were trying to come up under Akhenaton and them and monotheism and all that shit. And basically the Setian cult, or those that were under the cult of Set, said, look, that's cool. You do your thing. We're going to do our thing. But because they didn't like that, the Osirian cult, then that's when the strife and the division started to take place in Egypt. And then Set got demonized as being some evil, wicked being, their religion and indoctrination. And now we got what we got today. And I laugh at that because you still got people, well, Horus represents Jesus. And Horus is the real Jesus. Man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Please. The very fact that you still subconsciously need to validate the Jesus story, whether you believe it or not, shows me where your mind's at. And it's not the mind that's at. It shows me your mind is somewhere else. Okay, these are behaviors we got to analyze. So all that shit is irrelevant. Okay? But you will find, if you do your due diligence, your research, and your approach, you will find a lot of these things when you apply them to yourself. It'll start to change. All right, what else we got? So yes, the topic does pay homage to initiation via destruction, most definitely. All right, let's see what else. If not, we're gonna wrap this up. Ishra Nocturnalist says, I gave up a husband and friends to study left-hand path. It is a path of sacrifice. Very good point. But it isn't a path of enlightenment. And that enlightenment comes by way of Lucifer, the light bearer. And that enlightenment is intellect, right? Again, the adversary in the form of Lucifer is the only one that embodies light and darkness simultaneously. Set Heru represents that. When you see that image, the one body with the head of Set and Heru, that symbolically can be correlated or synchronized with the Lucifer energy. because Lucifer embodies light and darkness simultaneously. One must go into the dark to do the work of the light, right? That's a mystic saying that's been around for years. What does that mean? Shadow work, going into the inner depths of your subconscious mind, unlocking the real you. And the real you are all the shitty, bad, horrible things about yourself, along with the good, great, and positive things. The difference is on this path, we embrace all of that shit. We don't blame it on, oh, you need to be saved and those are ways of the devil, repent. Just sweep it under no. We embrace all of those things about ourselves. We tap into our darker side and we want to understand it. We don't want to bury it under the rug. We don't want to suppress it. We want to understand it to the fullest extent and master it and then go from there. That's the difference. We ain't trying to sweep shit under the rug. All right. What else we got? Yeah, and like you say, Ishara, you gave people. You'll find as you do shadow work, you might have to give up a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, a good friend. Sometimes they are the sacrifices or the sacrificial things that must be destroyed in order for you to move forward. All right, and that's just the way it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. All right, it happens, and it happens frequently. I hear stories of this all the time. I've been fortunate not to have issues again with direct family, but friends, oh yeah. I've been through cycles of that shit the last 25 years. I can go through several periods or cycles of people that I've gone through that just ran its course, that just were not productive to be around anymore. I could be here talking about that for hours. I've gone through that on an intense level. So yeah, everybody's going to get impacted differently. If your family unit is tight, and again, I've been fortunate for the most part, my family unit is tight, so I haven't really had those issues. So it just depends. People will get different levels of intensity, but I can say with people in general and friends, man, that shit is a nonstop revolving door is the best way I can describe it. But the beautiful thing is I know now when somebody runs its I already know. I sense it, I feel it, I see it, I identify it. Boom, I'm done with it. I don't keep dead weight around me no more. I stopped that shit long time ago. So, I mean, I've worked with people with business, and then once I started seeing the fuckery, I saw the signs, I gotta cut you off. I ain't going down that route with you. I ain't going down that failure route with you. I just can't do it. I don't have the time for it no more. And that's the beauty of it. Because remember, this work opens up the level of awareness so you can see and identify these things. You can't if you're not doing the work, okay? It sharpens your senses. You become immune to bullshit. I always say that, people. You're talking shit. My ears are immune to bullshit. They don't listen to bullshit. I can't listen to bullshit no more. So I'm not interested in listening to somebody else go on and on about their subjective experiences. To me, that shows a lack of insecurity. Subjective is personal, okay? So that's why you won't hear me, unless it's related to the topic we're talking about. I won't go into a long tangent about my subjective experiences because it would be pointless, all right? Keone, you don't, the ego is a good and a bad thing. You don't want to completely get rid of your ego. You want to be able to keep under wraps parts of your ego that can get you in fucked up situations. Your ego is also what protects you, okay? When you feel like you're being attacked wrongfully, that's your ego that steps in and protects you, that gives you the ability to respond. In that sense, the ego can be good. But when you think you're king, hot shit, know-it-all, and you talk shit, or you're writing that old saying, your mouth's writing a check that your ass can't cash, that's when your ego can get you in trouble. Like, for an example, my father used to always tell me when I was young, when we used to run the streets and get into fights, you might think you're a badass, but there's somebody out there who's more of a badass than you. You just ain't run into him yet. That's the shit I'm talking about. When you think I'm the best fighter, I can whoop everybody's ass. That's when your ego will get your ass in trouble, because eventually you're going to run into another motherfucker who's bigger and badder than you that can whoop your ass, right? Or it's the female who thinks she's the hot shit. She's the finest thing since fucking sliced bread. And then her feelings get squashed and hurt when she comes across somebody who's finer than her. And then the jealousy shit kicks in and the shit talking kicks in. That's where your ego can get the best of you, when you have a lack of control of your emotions. That's why when you're hating on somebody all the time, that's the ego, right? That's jealousy. That's too much pride, right? I look at people when they're successful, that just motivates me and says I could be successful too. I'm not going to waste my energy and time hating on somebody, because it ain't going to get me nowhere. What good does it do me sitting around hating on somebody that got more money than me, was doing more successful than me, when I could use that same energy and time that I'm utilizing to bitch, moan, and complain, and use that on myself? I'd be damned if I sit around and do that. And I sure as fuck won't keep people around me who do that. That's the whole point. See, all of this is identified through the shit that we're talking about tonight. Okay? Figure it out, the better off you'll be. The more you get caught up in this cycle of bullshit, and that's why I don't do all this shit and fuckery that goes on social media, the internet. I come on YouTube, do my thing. I disable my comments because I won't entertain ignorant ass people. I just ain't got the time for it. And that's it. Use this as a tool to teach, educate the masses. That's it. Don't use it as a tool of fuckery to gossip and slander, talk shit about people. Then you got these other punk motherfuckers that I said hide behind screen names and shit. Don't even put their real name on, fake ass avatars or no avatar at all. And then they want to start typing in shit. Like I said, I've always said, let me know where you want me to meet you. We'll talk face to face. If you're too pussy to do that, then don't hide behind a damn keyboard talking shit. I ain't got time for that. I'm old school. How we did shit back in the day, we handled it face to face, man to man. I ain't got time for that shit. Talking, you said something this about Egypt. That's not correct. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Who cares? What you think? The show stops for one person? Because you think about how ignorant that shit sounds. You're one person in a spectrum of billions of people. Do you think just as much as you're the one that doesn't like something, there's hundreds and thousands and millions of others that do? And that's all that matters. So that's some personal shit you got to wrestle with. That's some personal shit you got to get over. If, again, I said many times before, if I don't like something I see somebody saying in social media, YouTube, I just don't tune in. I'll be damned if I waste my time being in their room or their live typing stupid shit. Oh, you're this and you're that. And meanwhile, you're saying all that hiding behind a screen name with a fake ass avatar, calling yourself Ankh Ra Seti Hotep or some stupid ass screen name. Come on, man. How serious can anybody take you? It's a joke. These are things that must be destroyed about ourselves. We can't feed into any of that stuff no more. You got to have thick skin on this path. And I've learned that. And you're going to deal with people that talk shit. And it is what it is. But it don't mean nothing to me if you can't say it to me face to face. Well, come on, that's kindergarten shit. If you can't say it to me face to face, then you're not a man or a woman. And it's your right. Everybody has a right to have an opinion. Everybody has a right to agree or disagree. But the point being is, when it becomes personal because you don't like it, now you got a problem with yourself. Okay? So you don't want to destroy the ego completely. You want to be able to identify parts of the ego that are productive and can assist and help. And then you need to identify when the ego can get you into a heap of shit of all the aforementioned things. So I know a lot of mainstream paths teach, suppress the ego, suppress it completely. No, you don't want to do that, because your ego is what protects you. Your ego is what gives you good intuition. Your ego is what sometimes gives you insight to things. That's the part of your ego you want to draw upon. But when it's a lack of control of your emotions and your personal likes and dislikes and your anger, and then it becomes an issue. Look, road rage, right? How many people get taken out in life because of road rage? Need I say any more? All right. So hopefully that helped. Now, if you say your ego won't let you loose on certain things, that you got to discipline yourself. Now, if that's comments or you're saying or doing things that get you in trouble, that you got to, again, do work to identify that. You got to catch yourself when you do it. It's the only way. Yeah, Isra Nocturnal. The left-hand path is a lonely path, and you should never. It's good. It's good to have people fear you, right? You know what it goes back? It reminds me of the movie Bronx Tale, right? Where C asks Sonny, he says to him, "Is it better to be loved or feared?" Right? And he says, it's better to be feared, because if I show too much love and appreciation for people, they'll take it for a weakness and they'll take advantage of me. But if people fear me, I give them just enough. This is an important lesson here. I give them just enough just to keep them content, but they always have in the back of their mind not to cross me, and they fear me. That's a serious jewel. If you ever seen Bronx Tale, 1993, classic movie, go watch that shit. Right? Because they're dropping jewels in there. It's a mafia movie, but there's mad jewels in there. If you haven't seen it, Robert De Niro, go check it out. Bronx Tale. And you want people to fear you. And you should never let people know everything about your magical power. A master never reveals all his secrets. That's why I will never get on YouTube and talk shit like some of these other so-called intellectual, spiritual people on YouTube. They just run, they got diarrhea in the mouth, they just talk constant shit, and they let everybody know too much. But then you got people, real bad boys move in silence, that are sitting in the darkness, just laying in the shadows, watching these motherfuckers and waiting for the right time to prey upon them. And they're going to do it when they don't see it coming. So that's why you got to be careful when you got diarrhea in the mouth and you talk shit and you think you're a know-it-all. It's good when it's good, but usually those type of people fall hard, and they fall hard fast. It's not a gradual decline. It's not slowly. It's usually boom, all of a sudden, and it's unexpected. Okay? So never and it's good to have let people fear you. Let people fear your magic. Fear keeps people in check. I'll get people that come on here and act stupid shit. How do I do a spell to curse somebody and destroy them? Like, I'm going to be here openly on a YouTube video talking about that shit. And is there videos out there like that? Yes. And it's all anybody that's going to get open and talk about that in the open like that, it has no power. Trust me. All that hocus pocus bullshit it has no power. Trust me when I tell you. Because if it had any validity of power, they wouldn't be openly talking about it on fucking YouTube. That's just like all these pyramid schemes over the years. By the time those financial pyramid schemes get to you, they've been raped, pillaged, and fucked. And when they pass it down to the public, there's nothing else you can get out of it. But people still fall for it. They still join these things, these pyramid schemes. Well, it's the same thing. Anything that's really beneficial and powerful takes time uncovering, learning, and discovering. And that's why it was always said in ancient cultures, the real masters and the elders, they passed the secrets from mouth to ear. They didn't write the shit down in a book. They didn't make it public. They took their students and they passed the secrets from mouth to ear. Any good adept knows that shit. Do you think all the shit that I talk about here on the videos, you can find all this stuff in books? You think I'm going to get on here and talk to you about some secrets, some powerful personal shit that I use, just like I wouldn't expect you guys to be openly talking about your personal power? Fuck no, I ain't going to do that. I'm only going to talk about what needs to be talked about on a mainstream, wide-scale level. You think I'm going to get on here and talk about certain techniques and practices that are personal? Hell the fuck no, I ain't stupid. I wasn't born last night. Come on, man. But this is the shit. People don't see that. So, you got a lot of this fuckery going on YouTube. You got people claiming to be, high priest this, high priest that, Paleros this, Tatas this, whatever the fuck they call themselves. They can make you these Naga pots, and they can do all this magical work for you, of course, for a reasonable fee. I'm sure they can, but I'm sure there's thousands of dollars behind it. And look, if you're a weak person and you can't do it for yourself and you need that, knock yourself out. But bow to nothing or no one. I don't need nobody to do a fucking thing for me. I'd be damned if I go to somebody to destroy somebody or to put a spell on them. You can do it yourself. It don't mean you can't get assistance in doing it. And if I do work like that, I show people how to do it for themselves. I ain't going to do it. Nobody can completely do something for you. It's different going to somebody to get assistance, to come up with a plan to do it, but that person should be giving you the implements you need and showing you how you do it, how you apply it, how you take those implements and you work it for yourself. That's different than going to somebody and paying them all this ridiculous amount of money and they say they're doing the work for you. Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah, you might say I've done it and I've gotten results. Did you? Or did you really believe in your mind and you accepted it? And the power of your mind is what makes it work. See, that's what most people in magic won't tell you. Not only if you're hiring, let's say, somebody to do ritualistic work, if you don't accept the reality of it in here and really convince yourself, that's really what gives it the power. Most people ain't aware of that. And most people that take people to the cleaners for money like that know that. So that's why you go to these people that do readings, right? The first thing they'll tell you is you got an evil spirit on you, right? The next thing that follows up, oh, you need to do this ritual and that work to get it done. It's going to cost you $3,000 to do it. Sure it is. That's my whole point. Anybody that starts off a reading like that, stop the reading, because I could tell you what's coming next. And anybody that's done reading or spiritual work with me, you don't hear any of that bullshit when you do a reading with me. Oh, you got this generational spirit on you that's plaguing you. Oh, you need to do that. That's somebody that's got an agenda right out the gate. And 9 out of 10 times you walk into a botanica, it's the first thing they're going to tell you. They can smell fresh meat from a mile away. And especially if they know you know nothing about this shit, they're going to take your ass to the cleaners. Trust me. I walk up in there, I'm telling you, I've been asked to leave botanicas. They say, you're marked for death. They see the holy death. They see those dark spirits, and I want them to see them. So that's my way of saying, without saying anything, don't fuck with me. That's it. Mind your business. I came in here to get a few items. Don't come up to me with that fuckery. Come before my naga pot so I could do a reading. They see it, right? I've been asked to leave botanicals, literally. I've had people walk up to me, look at me in the van, and then just stop talking, like, oh, okay, and then just walk away. Because even though they're tapped into a vibrant frequency, when you get in certain environments, they can see things, they can sense. But what they see this power as is negative. They're still spooked out and religious. I've seen, I've walked in Botanica and they said, I see demons walking behind you. Good, thank you. I'm glad. Now stay the fuck out of my way. I'm glad you do. That's perfect. Move the fuck out of the way. Let me get my shit so I can go. So it's good. Let people fear. I like watching people bathe in their ignorance. People that are ignorant deserve to suffer in fear. It's as simple as just asking, trying to reason and understand it. But if you don't have the ability to do that, wallow away in your fear. Perfect. All right. What else we got? Bound to nothing or no one. That's right. All right. Let me finish this up. It's time. 8 minutes passed. Tamika Fryer. Many places you can learn. Many books. What I would suggest for the sake of time, if you go through the archives of my videos, I give many different references, books, resources that you can start. I would definitely take the time. I mean, you can Google. There's so many other websites and books out there. I would look into the works. For an example, Michael W. Ford, Asenath Mason puts out a lot of good books on the occult. Richard K. Page, who we're going to have on the show actually this Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. He puts out a lot of good books on Luciferianism. But if you go through some of my older videos, just go in the archives, I'm constantly making reference to resources that you could look into. And in addition, I don't know how many videos I got in it now. It's probably over 300 videos in the archives. I touch on pretty much any topic in the occult you could think of. So if you get some time, I know you ain't gonna have time to look through all of them, but just peruse and scan through some of them. I'm sure it'll point you in the right direction. Set is the man. Yeah, Set pretty much bitch slapped Heru. I told you a couple years ago I put that photo. I'm gonna re-put that photo out again. You might have seen it. I think I also put it on the Instagram a while back. Put it on my old Facebook page. People were in an uproar. Oh, that's a disrespectful picture. It's basically a depiction of Set like bitch slapping Horus with his back of his hand. Like you can see he hit him like that, and Horus's face is going like this. And I put that up intentionally because I knew all the religious people were going to uproar. Oh, I got emails. Oh, you can't disrespect Lord Horus. Lord Horus, what the fuck are you talking about? How religious and spooked out are you? That's because they still look at the God and devil concept. And I knew it. I did it intentionally because I knew all the space cadets and the comedic fools would come out of the woodworks whining and complaining. You just saw the hate mail that I got because of that. And I remember turning, and I forgot who I said it. Oh, matter of fact, I think it was Ravana Noon. I said, watch, when I put this out, watch how all the religious, conscious, comedic people go in uproar. And lo and behold, they did. And I couldn't give two shits. And I put it out 2 other times after that. Nobody dared respond because I responded to a couple of them on Facebook and they had no response for my response. I just said, Lord Horus, what are you talking about? I mean, that's some funny ass shit. Think about it. How can you disrespect Lord Horus? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, how religious can you be? You're supposed to be a god? You claim to be some Egyptian god? And you're still looking at Horus like he's some Messiah Jesus character? That's some funny ass shit to me. All right, let's get the comments. I think. Oh, damn, skipped. It's true. People start getting personal when you don't want to take their bullshit no more. Very true. Very true, Blade of Asteroid. Good comment here. I'm gonna unlock it. Sometimes when you use profanity in the comments, it doesn't show. So I want to read a comment that hold on, where did it go? Damn. Yeah, by I always butcher this name. I don't know. I believe it's Cicerus. Definitely true, Brother B. Without the ego, how could we enjoy, indulge, or on the shit we want? Magic would be pointless. Yeah. So it's not about destroying the ego completely. It's about understanding it. It's about knowing which parts of it that you draw upon, like in those parts that are beneficial, and check yourself when it gets out of hand. When your emotions get the best of you via your ego, that's when it can become something that could be a downfall. No, Blair, it's not that the books are bullshit. It's just all books, not just on the occult, anything. You got to remember, it's just an outline or a blueprint, and it's from that person's perspective. So it's not that the books are bullshit. All these books have a lot of good information in it, but if you don't utilize the information to come up with your own path, then it becomes bullshit because there's more to it than what you're just reading in the book. So most definitely the books are not bullshit. And I've always said you must study and master these books. You master the books don't master you. The problem is some people can't do that. They're everything, it's got to be resourced somewhere or where it is. And that's cool if that's to an extent, but it goes beyond that. So no, the books are not bullshit. What else we got? Yeah, and yeah, you cipher out the truth. Ciphering out the truth is you take what applies to you because everything you read in a book isn't going to apply to you. You're not going to resonate with it. I don't think I've ever read an entire book and said everything in the book I completely agree with or resonate. So yes, you as a god or a goddess have to cipher out of that book what applies to you. Yes, so that must be done through your study, through your scrutinizing and analyzing. Just like everything that I talk about isn't going to resonate with everybody. So don't worry about what it is that doesn't resonate with you. I talk about focus on what does, because that's what's going to help you grow. Because you're wasting that energy. That's what I was talking about earlier. The people that bitch, moan, and complain about what they don't like. You're wasting time and energy. Who gives a fuck? stop focusing on it. Focus on what it is you do like. And if there's nothing you like, then you got a serious problem. Why the fuck you tuned in, staying in here all this time, listening, and you don't agree with it? Then it shows you got even more fucked up problems. So that's a whole nother level of fuckery. All right. I think that's it. I'm gonna have to wrap this up because I got some shit I gotta do and it's getting late. All right. Yeah, I gotta wrap this up. I got to most of the questions. Couldn't get to all of them. Kind of went 15 minutes past. All right. Anyway, just a reminder real quick. Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Remember, we got Richard K. Page, Luciferian and author on the show. Don't forget to tune in. I know we're never really on at that time, but this is Richard's third appearance on the show. And every time we bring him on, we have to bring him on a Saturday afternoon due to the fact he lives in the UK. And as you know, they're 5 or 6 hours ahead of us in time. So we come up with that time to make it feasible for everybody. So hopefully you guys are available Saturday afternoon. Mark it down. Be here 4 o'clock. I'll put notifications out tomorrow and Saturday to remind people. We got that coming up. I have no idea what we're going to be doing next week. I'll figure something out. If you need to contact me, we got the email for the classes. We got the Lilith class, November 2nd, Saturday, 3 to 6:30 p.m. If you want to sign up and register for that class, send me an email. We have the conference next month in October. We got the ritual at the end of the month, the 27th of this month. We got an upcoming class I'll be doing with Ravana Noon on occult and hip hop and sports. That's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy that shit because we're going to kind of just be kicking it, having fun. And even if you're not fully into hip hop or sports, I think you'll get a lot out of it. We're going to have some fun with that class. That's coming up on the 29th. I think that covers the basis. If you need me for a reading or a consultation, send me an email. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel button. That expands the channel to more viewers. So definitely hit the like button. And also hit the notification bell when you subscribe. Okay. That gives you notifications when I go live. If you want to support the channel, monetary wise, you can do it right here. The money symbol there, you can donate, or you can go to PayPal and use the canoom19@gmail.com email address. All right. Peace, love, hair grease, pork chops, and all that good shit. We'll see you guys next week.